Cowboys right guard Zack Martin is asking for another deal because he is considering not reporting to training camp otherwise. We will dive into many things tonight. Why now? Is it a big deal or not? And much more. What can the Cowboys do moving forward? Ladies and gentlemen, let's get prime time started. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into ADZ Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. Make sure that you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. And as always, do me a favor and hit the like button, share the stream. Remember that every thumbs up puts this show in front of more and more Cowboys fans. What a Wednesday. We had a curveball coming tonight, this morning toward us, because the day to me started celebrating that Zack Martin had gotten a ticket to the 99 Club from Madden as Madden 24 releases its rankings and ratings. Listen, I don't really care too much about the game anymore. I don't play it. But I know I care about the ratings. And more than that, players do as well. Fans do as well. So when we saw that Martin was the first 99 Club guard in the NFL since Larry Allen had that honor in 2003, yeah, I got excited. I was planning on writing about it. And then just a few minutes later, Adam Schefter puts out a tweet, a report saying that, you know what, Zack Martin might actually not report to training camp. And it caught me off guard. It shouldn't have in hindsight, but I think that it caught us all off guard because we didn't know that I think it wasn't in our radar, right? Adam Schefter tweeted, Cowboys six-time All-Pro guard, six-time All-Pro is ridiculous, and team captain Zack Martin is considering not reporting to training camp, which is next week, may I add, due to his unhappiness with his contract and the team's lack of interest in restructuring it. Per sources, Martin believes that he is, quote, woefully underpaid relative to the market, end quote. This is what Adam Schefter hit us with this AM. And you look back on this offseason, and Zack Martin didn't participate in minicamp. He didn't participate in OTAs. He was there, but he wasn't really practicing. And it kind of caught us off guard. So tonight, I want to break down the news. What does it mean? Why Zack Martin is wanting a new deal now at this point, and with 2 years left on his deal, by the way. And what should the Cowboys do from here? Ladies and gentlemen, let me say hi in the chat, though, really quickly. Do me a favor, though, and let me know. Is this a big deal, small deal, or no deal? Let me know in the chat. What do you have to say about that? Big deal, small deal, or no deal? Let me know. Rodney says, say it ain't so, Mo. JJ needs to pay Zack Martin. He's earned it, says John, talking about Jerry Jones, obviously. Danny Savage says, grown men don't play video games. That's a lie. That's a lie. Grown men, grown women, whoever wants to play video games, go ahead and do it. We're living in a society that tells you that you shouldn't. I don't know why. Oh, man. Let's see, though, what we've got here. Very big deal, says Lance. Laquan says, a small deal. He's the veteran and anchor of our offensive line, says John. Yes, it is a big deal. Let's see, what else do we have here? No deal for Katharina. I got personal update on this, Moses. Katharina, I don't know what that necessarily means, though. I'm old, says Danny Savage. They need to pay Zack, says Inez. Big deal. Toxic Tom says, no deal. Nothing has even happened. This is something that can easily be taken care of. Gregory goes with huge deal. I'm going to go, my official answer is going to be small deal because it obviously matters a lot. And it obviously is a situation that the Cowboys need to take care of, in my opinion. But it is a deal because with 2 years left on his contract, I'm not sure how the Cowboys will go ahead and play this. According to reports, Todd Archer from ESPN said that both sides had touched base in February at the combine about a potential reworking of Zack Martin's contract situation. And for us to be 1 week away from training camp and this to be coming out to light, that's because of something. This is a negotiation tactic at the end of the day, right? From Zach, probably. From Zach's camp, not Zach individually. But what I'm saying is you touch base with them in February, you don't hear back. They are quoting, again, lack of interest in restructuring the deal. It is a deal. The Cowboys need to fix it. I agree with what was said in the chat earlier, though, about it being easily taken care of. But the Cowboys are still not taking care of it, right? So this is indeed something. I won't go all the way to say that it is a big deal just because I think that based on the numbers, you could easily make this happen. And I want to get into the why. Why would Zack Martin do this now? Some people would wonder that at the end of the day, maybe Zack Martin was not on our radar among the Cowboys players that could be looking at an extension very soon because he still has 2 years under contract. Remember that when he signed his deal back in 2018, it was a 6-year deal. It was an old school Dallas Cowboys contract signed with us for the long term. We're going to take care of you, blah, blah, blah. Well, the reason why, if you're Zack Martin, you want a new deal, you can break down into two. And I'm going to start with 3 facts. This is going to be the number one why, right? As of today, Zack Martin is the 8th highest paid guard in the NFL, based on the fact that he's the second active player with the most first-team All-Pros. You would assume that's being underpaid. Yeah, he's top 10 and everything, but if somebody deserves to be the highest paid offensive guard in the NFL, it's got to be Zack Martin. Right now, he's earning about $7 million less than the top paid guys. And number two, I mean, not number two, but number two within the number one. Why? The deal was signed in 2018. And I understand people who go, man, how can he ask for more if he still has 2 years under contract? Come on. Let's not be naive here. The Cowboys knew very well what they were doing back in 2018 when they signed him to a 6-year deal. And with that, I mean 2 things. First, they knew that they were getting a bargain in the sense that it would pay off late in the contract when they had a guy who was grossly underpaid. That's why they want to put together those long-term deals in the first place. And secondly, they knew that part of the risk of such a contract is that by year 5, year 6, the player might not be as happy if he's doing his part and he might be holding out from training camp, holding in, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's not like the Cowboys were unaware back in 2018 that this could happen at one point in the future. And may I remind you that this is a player that is a 6-time first-team All-Pro. He is the best at his position. Quentin Nelson, at one point, who is, by the way, the highest paid offensive guard in football today, Quentin Nelson, there was a moment in which he made us think he has a shot at Zack Martin because he's playing some good football. But time has favored Zack Martin, who, again, has been an All-Pro player 6 times, 6 different times. First team All-Pro, I mean. That's reason number one of why Zack Martin would want to ask for it now. Second one, and in my opinion is the most important one, is that Zack Martin has leverage. And yeah, this is a game in which you want to win a Super Bowl, you want to build a legacy, you want to make it to the Hall of Fame. And Zack Martin will be a Hall of Famer, by the way, when the time comes. But primarily, he has leverage on the Cowboys. And you can see that leverage in the shape of a very questionable offensive line beyond Zack Martin. An offensive line that's depending on Tyron Smith to do something that he hasn't done in a long time, and that's staying healthy. And then you've got Tyler Smith. I think the Tyler Smith might be one of your strongest points right now because he's got position flex. Second year player, though. I don't have a lot to say negatively about Tyler Smith other than we have not seen him much, which is a good thing ultimately. Tyler Biotish, solid player, but probably not much more other than solid. And then Terrence Steele coming off from an ACL injury. Who knows what the timetable is for him in the 2023 season? The Cowboys have said he might not even start training camp healthy. So, yeah, Zack Martin is looking at his cards and he's saying, oh, this Cowboys team is publicly talking about extending Trevon Diggs, about extending CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott. They're not even talking about me. I already reached out to them and they're not talking about me. Well, I might not show up to training camp. That's called leverage. Similarly to what Zeke did in 2019 when he wanted to kind of like jump Dak Prescott in line, cut Dak Prescott in line. Right? That's how I look at it. Zack Martin is using his leverage of number one, and most importantly, being one of the best players in football, period. The fact that the Cowboys have a offensive line that if you remove Zack Martin from the equation, it becomes a concerning unit for sure. And honestly, if somebody deserves to be able to raise his hand and say, you know what, I want more money, it's Zack freaking Martin. Somebody added me on Twitter, and he replied to one of my tweets saying, like, I don't get people who are complaining about Zack Martin. And somebody responded to my tweet and said, what about 2020 when he missed games? Why didn't he return money? And I just quoted that tweet with the following message. 2018, first team All-Pro. 2019, first team All-Pro. 2020, missed 6 games. 2021, first team All-Pro. 2022, first team All-Pro. 4 of the last 5 seasons have been first team All-Pro seasons for Martin. And I'm guessing that number 5, the one that he didn't get in there, which was 2020, he would have gotten in there if he hadn't missed 6 games. Well, voters had no choice at that point. But man, I don't get it. I don't get the questioning Zack Martin for what he is doing. He is trying to push himself and climb up the Cowboys to-do list right now. The good news for the Cowboys, though, the good news, let's get into that, is Martin is making around $14 million per year this and next season. And he wants a bump to be near the top again, which is at $20 million based on what Chris Lindstrom signed for with the Falcons and what Quentin Nelson signed for with the Colts. Around $20 million. Zack Martin could be looking at something like $20.5 million, $21 million. It's not a huge bump. It's doable in the salary cap as well. I can assure you that it's doable from a cash standpoint, obviously, as well. This season, he's owed $13.5 million in cash. That's what he's going to be getting in 2023. So the Cowboys can make this happen easily. And what do the Cowboys get in return? Also, like on top of that, well, you would lock up Zack Martin for a couple of more years, maybe even a few more years, right? Because his contract voids in 2025. It cannot hurt the Cowboys to rework the deal in order to make it a 4-year deal instead of a 2-year one moving forward. Because as you can tell me that Martin is 32 years old, I don't care about it. Again, he's had back-to-back All-Pro seasons, and before that, he had another 2 consecutive All-Pro seasons. Only Aaron Donald has more All-Pro seasons than him among active players in the NFL. Martin is ridiculously good. He is Hall of Fame good. And I have not, somebody said, why would they give him the 99 Club membership after a down year? That was not a down year for Zack Martin. That was still a first team All Pro campaign from him. So I get what Zack Martin is trying to do. I'm for it. I think that the Cowboys would be foolish not to take care of this and move on. You don't want Zack Martin to be unhappy, honestly. If there is one guy who deserves it and who will still likely give you more than what you're paying him for, he is going to be that guy. He is going to be that guy. Let's see what you guys have to say, though. I will block Jennifer over at Facebook, who is spamming people right now. Let's see what you guys have to say, though. Danny Savage is trolling me at this point. He is trolling me. Hall of Fame good, yet would not have started on the Great Wall of Dallas. I feel like we do see those arguments in Facebook sometimes. Toxic says create some void years, spread the heat over the last 2 years and the added years. This isn't hard, LOL. And yet it matters though, because I don't want to make this all dramatic or anything, but the Cowboys are showing enough lack of interest for it to not have happened yet. So I don't think that this is nothing either. But yeah, I do agree that this shouldn't be hard to get done, and the Cowboys should do it in a heartbeat, in my opinion. Toxic says create some. Oh no, I already read that one. Sorry. Let's see though. Bottom line, says Ines, Zach is a great player and he deserves to get paid. Daniel says, I agree, Zach is the most deserving, but what's the point of contracts if players can just demand more and sit out? This is a good question and one that I respect, but one that I look at from the following point of view, right? At the end of the day, they're playing for the NFL. And since 2018, there have been new TV deals. Revenue has skyrocketed for the NFL, not increased in a consistent basis. It has skyrocketed over the last few years with the new TV deals, with an expanded schedule, with all of that. You can agree to a contract in 2018, but both sides know that things can change and the landscape can change. And it has. It 100% has changed recently. So sometimes we look at contracts like these, ultra rigid, needs to be followed down to the dot type of thing. But in the NFL, when you've got leverage, you can renegotiate things. And I don't think that should be frowned upon. That's just, it makes sense, right? It 100% does. If a company making $1 million a year hires you, and I'm just making up this number, $60K a year, and then suddenly 1 year after that, it's making $10 million, you're going to want a raise. You're going to want a raise, honestly. I don't know what the cap was in 2018, but the difference has to be massive after we were looking at $82 million between 2023 and 2015. That was the difference between those few years. I can imagine that 2018 is also very significant. So yeah, I do think that we shouldn't look at contracts and all of that like this unnegotiable type of agreements in a very dynamic landscape as the NFL is. Toxic Tom says, Mo just told y'all he is planning to hold out from A to Z Sports. Yeah, man, I'm going to hold out during training camp. I have not let them know. No, I'm just kidding. It's Kellen Moore's fault, says Danny. Philip says they are fools if they do not handle this quickly. He is too integral in this year's Cowboys plan. Yep, he really is. Not only his technique and play, Zack Martin is great, says Lance. He's a leader of the team. He's one of the examples of the team. He's a class act, as Gregory is saying over here. And it would be classless if you don't pay the man. I like that comment. I like that. Lincoln says if he was smart, he should have signed a 3 to 4 years contract at a time. Yeah, that was a W for the Cowboys. But again, the Cowboys knew. I mean, they had to know in 2018. They didn't sign that deal thinking that there is no way that Martin asks us for more money later on down the road if he plays at the level that. I mean, since he signed that deal again, 4 All-Pro seasons since that extension. Of course, Zach can go, you know what? Let's look at that agreement of ours one more time. Let's look at it. Right? Now, granted, the Cowboys can say, all right, see you in September. They can still do that. And we cannot dismiss that possibility. I wouldn't like it. I don't think it would be right. But with 2 years on his deal, yeah, they could do that and create a hostile situation between the two guys, between the player and team. So, yeah, I agree that this contract is signed, so they could do that. But do you want to do that? Is it worth the bother of having your best player? And I do believe Zack Martin is the best player on the roster. I think that the one guy who can rival him for that title is Micah. But is it worth it at all? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that it is worth it. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, though, let's move on a little bit here from the show. Let's from the Zack Martin topic, excuse me, and let's get into the potential trade that has been on Cowboys Nation's mind this Wednesday, as reports have emerged that one, the Cowboys and the New York Jets have had conversations about wide receiver Denzel Mims. And not only that, but according to Mike Fisher, there has been an offer between the two teams. Denzel Mims, New York Giants, wide receiver, would you be for or against a trade for Denzel Mims? For those of you who are not familiar with Mims' situation, he's a former second-round pick who has suffered over in New York, either because of situation, his own play, or both. He has not had the career that he expected. Over the last couple of years, he has 19 catches for over 300 yards. Not the career that we expected from a 6'3" receiver who ran a 4.38 40 during his draft preparation. He actually had a 9.76 relative athletic score, which means that he was over the 97th percentile of wide receivers from an athletic point of view. But the thing is that if you trade for Denzel Mims, you're likely doing it to have dips over the other 31 NFL teams, 30 NFL teams, excluding the Jets, obviously. But because otherwise, the Jets are cutting Denzel Mims. So do the Cowboys feel like they need to trade for Denzel Mims or not? That is the question. According to Mike Fisher, the price tag would be a conditional 7th-round draft pick. And that kind of changes the equation because even though you're talking about a trade and giving up something, like you're giving up a conditional 7th-rounder. So are you for or against Denzel Mims trading for him? Say that is a price tag. Let's see what you guys have to say. Mims has no room in Dallas, says John. I am against it. Gregory says, I would be for it, but it's not going to happen. Smokescreen says Lance. Mims is getting cut, says Danny Savage. And I do agree that if he isn't traded for, the Jets are going to cut him. As easy as that. Joe says, I heard from ESPN that Mo is indeed 12 years old and his mom is behind the camera. Shout out to Joe Mez. So thank you for tuning in. I won't confirm nor deny the reports. We have no fifth rounder in 2024, says Danny. What are we giving up? Plus all those Baylor wide receiver sucks in NFL. You would be giving up a conditional seventh. That's what you would be giving up probably in this trade. Big says yes because he has potential, but no because I want to see what Tolbert and Simi can do. Toxic says so he's better than Tolbert and Simi. Man, it's a weird one. It's a weird one because I don't know what to make out of Denzel Mims. I'll tell you this though, the stat of the week could help us kind of like figure out this situation, like whether or not it matters that Denzel Mims has had such low production in his career over his first 3 years. Consider the following. The New York Jets last year ranked, no, not last year, excuse me. Over the last 3 years, okay, the New York Jets have not ranked higher than 28 points per game in a single season. Like out of the last 3 years, 28th is the best that they have ranked. And that includes a 32nd rank in the NFL one of the years and 25th in yards per game. One of those 3 seasons, they also ranked 32nd in yards per game. And to make matters worse, this is the stat of the week. The quarterbacks that have thrown the football to Denzel Mims. Here they are, the New York Jets passing leader per season and where he ranked in on-target throws by percentage. 2022, Zach Wilson was the 33rd QB in the NFL in on-target throws. 2021, he was better, though. He wasn't 33rd. In 2021, no. Wilson was 31st. But life has never been this hard for Denzel Mims and the Jets because in 2020, Zach Wilson was not throwing the football. So you could only hope for some improvement. 2020 was Sam Darnold under center. He would have never ranked below 30th. No, sir. He ranked 28th in on-target throws. These are the guys that have thrown Dalvin Mims the football over the last 3 years over his career. One of the knocks, though, on Denzel, all kidding aside, is that he has played 30 games in his career. So he has been banged up. And that is not great for a wide receiver who has never found his stride in the NFL. Like, can you finally find it in year 4 of your career? Probably not. Probably not. And that's what doesn't excite me at all. But I'm also not against it. And I'm going to take the easy way out of the question. And I'm going to say, I'm not strongly for or strongly against. If they do give up a conditional 7th, I think that best case scenario for him, he finds a place right at the bottom of the depth chart. Maybe he can be some sort of insurance if one of the Cowboys goes down, like if Jalen Tolbert goes down injured or Simi Fehoko. Knock on wood, hopefully that does not happen. But he could be depth. Like, he could be one of the best depth options that you could find, or best in the sense that he would have some upside as a very good athlete, even if he hasn't done it in the NFL. Like, he hasn't been a NFL wide receiver yet, not a solid one at least, not in production numbers at least. But yeah, do you want to have a number 6 guy, number 7 guy in training camp that has some upside, that is a good athlete, that will cost you a 7th rounder with only like a 1.7 million cap number for 2023? I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it at all. But did the Cowboys go, I don't know, we don't want to spend that type of money on him? I also would not hate them for not doing it. I know that I'm kind of riding the fence a little bit here, but honestly, if somebody's looking at you right in the eye and is telling you, hell no, the Cowboys shouldn't sign Denzel Mims, or they're telling you, hell yes, that would change our offense, either or, they're probably exaggerating because we don't know much about Denzel Mims other than the following. He's been in potentially the worst situation that you can be in the NFL over the last 3 years. And the second thing that we know is he wouldn't cost a lot. Not in terms of dollars, not in terms of draft compensation in a trade. So nobody should look you in the eye and say, hell no, hell yes. They're probably exaggerating if somebody's telling you that. Thank you to Double R who says, great show. I appreciate you, sir. Thanks so much. Let's see what you guys have to say, though. Danny says, why trade for Mims then? We keeping Lamp, Cooks, Michael Gallup, and one leg Tolbert, Simi, Mims, Turpin. No, you're not keeping all of them. You're having them in for training camp and see what happens, basically. For basically nothing. This obviously would only make sense if the Cowboys say, you know what, he has this trait, whether it is athleticism, overall explosiveness, speed, something that they think would go well with the offense, and maybe they want to see how it plays out in training camp. Like if they trade for him and cut him before the regular season, it's still not an L if it's a conditional 7th round draft pick. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that will be it for me tonight. I do want to apologize. Though, because I feel like I jinxed the Cowboys a little bit last night. If you stayed until the end of last night's show, when we had the one cool thing, I said that my one cool thing was that the Cowboys had given us, and the NFL world had given us a lot to go off from in this particular week. The Hopkins news, the running back news, all of that. But then they hit us with the Zack Martin report. And I would have appreciated not having to hear about that Zack Martin report. But that's the way it goes. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a favor. Hit the like button, though. Remember that every thumbs up puts this show in front of more and more Cowboys fans. And as always, you did, Mo. You are the rowdy of ADCs. Is toxic. Damn it. All right, guys. See you tomorrow night. I appreciate you. Tengan un excelente miércoles y hasta luego.